Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today we're going to be going over the Council of Nikaea and the real world application of it, when it happened and all that, where the word comes from, and a council in the Bible where they were determining if the Gentiles needed to follow the law of God or whatnot. So, before we get into that, take the wikis with a grain of salt, as there's a lot of stuff in them that isn't canon anymore. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you like what you see, please consider a like and subscription, as that is what pushes the video out there. And then I also want to apologize, guys, if you haven't been getting my videos. YouTube has been throttling the heck out of my channel. And also, I tried an experiment, with the titles and everything like that, and it didn't go so well, so I'm going to go back to the old titles. So, and hopefully that works. But anyways, let's get started. The Council of Nikaea was a great imperial conclave called by the Emperor of Mankind in the 31st millennium on the world of Nikaea in the midst of the Great Crusade that was intended to determine whether or not the use of psychic powers represented a boon or a grave danger to humanity in the newborn imperium of man. Ultimately, in the decree of absolute of the emperor that emerged from the council, the existence of certain psychers like navigators and astropaths in the imperium was sanctioned but tightly restricted under centralized imperial control. The potent and unrestricted use of psychic abilities that was defined as sorcery, bargaining for power or knowledge with the intelligent entities that existed within the warp, was officially banned. Additionally, the existence of the Department of the Librarius, found in most Space Marine legions of the era, was banned, and the librarians themselves, who served as the legion's combat psychers, were ordered to return to the duties of simple battle line Astartes, and to never to use their abilities again. The psychically powerful Primarch, Magnus the Red, and his Space Marine Legion, the Thousand Sons, would continue to study such powers in secret on their homeworld of Prospero, ultimately leading to their damnation by chaos during the early days of the Horus Heresy and the fall of Prospero. The ban on librarians and other sanctioned combat psychers was later relaxed during the campaigns of the Great Skewering, largely due to the events of the Horus Heresy and the realization that the forces of chaos could not be defeated by imperial forces without at least tightly controlled access to the power of the Immaterium. It was also at the Council of Nikaea that the Chaplain Edict was promulgated by the Emperor, requiring every Space Marine Legion to establish a new specialty rank whose holder was known as Chaplain, based on the practice of the Word Bearer's Legion. A chaplain was charged with ensuring that every legion remained committed to the ideas of the imperial truth and to help maintain the dedication, morale, and faithfulness of its battle brothers to the vision of the Emperor. Within archives of the Blood Ravens, the Council of Nikaea is known as the Hearing of the Thousands. Furthermore, the Apocrypha of Hades, knowledge is power, use it well, was used during the council, which later became the chapter motto of the Blood Ravens. Alright, so we're going to move over to the somewhat biblical thing here. So, this is where they got Nikaea from. This is the Council of Nikaea, or Nicaea, some people say it that way. So, anyways, was a gathering of Christian bishops in 325 AD to resolve a dispute over the nature of Jesus Christ. The purpose. The council was convened by a Roman Emperor Constantine I to address the controversy of Arianism, a doctrine that held Jesus was created or was a created being and not divine. So, I don't need a bunch of guys in a room to tell you this. It's quite easy. Right here. So, John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay. Let's go further. John 1:14. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, and the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. All right, so now we're going to get into the book of Adam and Eve. This is also the book of Adam and Eve. I got two different versions here. I just got lazy, but the same thing. Okay. So we're going to see here. This is chapter 3. Yeah. So, right. And God said to Adam, I have ordained thee in this earth days and years, and thou and thy seed shall dwell and walk in it until the days and years are fulfilled, when I shall send the word that created thee. And against which thou hast transgressed, the word that made thee come out of the garden, and that raised thee when thou wast fallen. Yea, the word that will again save thee when the 5 days and half, or 5 and the days, 5 days and a half are fulfilled. These are thousands of years, by the way. But anyways, it explains it. Let's go here. But it gets even more interesting as God says he's going to come in the flesh of his descendants. So you start seeing this word is God somehow, some way. You can look at it as the word is like God's avatar and how he expresses himself to man. So anyways, but it goes deeper than that. So this is chapter 14. So starting in verse 3. Again said God to Adam, all this misery that you have been made to take on yourself because of your transgression will not free you from the hand of Satan. It will not save you. Ready? But I will. When I shall come down from heaven and shall become the flesh of your descendants and take on myself the infirmity of which you suffer. Then the darkness that covered you in this cave shall cover me in the grave, when I shall become the flesh of your descendants. And I, who am without years, shall be subject to the reckoning of years, of times, of months, and of days, and I shall be reckoned as one of the sons of men, in order to save you. And God ceased to commune with Adam. Pretty easy, isn't it? I didn't need a bunch of guys in a room, right? Pretty easy. All I needed was, the Bible. And of course, the book of Adam and Eve and stuff, which is a outside the Bible book. Okay. So take it as that, right? Not canon, just extra information. All right. Hold on a second. I messed that up. All right. So now we're going to get into the Edicts of Nikaea. Magnus had spoken passionately with great power, and the Council of Nikaea became even more divided. While they had strong arguments in their favor to justify their anti-psychic position, the witch hunters could not effectively match Magnus's persuasiveness. The tension could easily have been cut with a knife when a group of Space Marine librarians approached the dais. The Emperor acknowledged them with a nod, and all present fell silent. My goodness. Among the group were some of the greatest librarians of the Space Marine legions. They formed a semicircle around the dais to indicate that they spoke as one voice, but it was a young librarian, epistolary, who spoke for the group. As Psyker, he proposed, was like an athlete, a gifted individual whose native talent must be carefully nurtured. Psychers were not innately evil in themselves, but like any tool, could be used for either good or evil purposes. Ain't that the truth? Sorcery, however, was a knowledge of how to wield psychic powers that had to be sought for, even bargained for with foul entities of the warp. No one could be truly sure who or what had benefited in that deal. And the librarians proposed that all psychers be strictly educated by the Imperium with the express purpose of using their abilities to serve mankind. This could become an immediate Imperial priority. The practice of psychic sorcery would forever be outlawed as an unforgivable offense against mankind and the worst kind of heresy against the Imperial truth. Yet the Council of Nikaea was also the trial of Magnus the Red, for he was accused of sorcery and introducing sorcerous practices to the Space Marine legions through the institution of the Corps of the Librarians. As the evidence of Magnus' continued practice of sorcery became apparent, the Emperor barely contained his wrath as he pronounced judgment on the Primarch of the Thousand Sons, for he had entrusted his son many Terran years before to obey his biting and forswear the use of such occult practices because of the dangers inherent to the warp. He had entrusted only Magnus with the true secrets of the warp and the existence of the terrible entities later known by humanity as the Chaos Gods, to which only they remained privy. But now it appeared that his gene son had disobeyed his edicts and at very least dabbled in occult and the forbidden black arts of sorcery by repeatedly treating with the denizens of the warp. The confrontation between father and son is recorded in the Grimoire of Hereticus. As a result, the Emperor's judgment at the Council of Nikaea proved severe, largely as a result of his anger at Magnus. The Emperor rejected the librarian's compromise between the practice of restrained combat psychic abilities and the pursuit of true sorcery. With the exceptions of navigators and astropaths who were properly trained, controlled, and sanctioned by the Imperium and were necessary to its continued existence, the Emperor decreed that the Space Marine legions were no longer to employ combat psykers within their ranks. He commanded that the Primarchs were to close the librarians departments of their legions forthwith and not to indulge the undoubted psychic talents of those Astartes who possessed the gift. All existing Space Marine librarians were likewise forbidden to make use of their abilities. The Council of Nikaea, Nikaea's ruling, also created a new position amongst the Space Marine legions, the Space Marine Chaplain, drawn from the practices of the Word Bearers Legion to uphold the Imperial truth and help maintain the purity of the Astartes Legion's dedication and fidelity to the Emperor's commands. The Emperor ordered Magnus to cease the practice of sorcery and incantation immediately. In the pursuit of all knowledge related to magic, Magnus, of course, did not like the idea, and he remained barely opposed to the decision made at Nikaea. But in the end, he bent his will to his father, the Emperor, and agreed to obey, though the machinations of the ruinous powers would ultimately lead to a darker fate for Magnus the Red and his 1,000 sons. The Edicts of Nikaea stood largely for the next 10,000 standard years as primary imperial policy regarding human psychic mutation. Only the edict against the use of librarians within the ranks of the Space Marines and the combat psykers and wider imperial military forces would be reserved as a result of the Horus Heresy, as that terrible civil war made clear to the rulers of the Imperium that combat psykers were essentially to face the fell powers of the forces of chaos. In this way, the librarians originally compromised that the Emperor rejected at Nikaea eventually became the Emperor's de facto policy concerning psykers in the wake of the Horus Heresy. In the 41st millennium, the choice of whether to make use of librarians was left to each chapter of the Adeptus Astartes to decide for itself. For instance, the Salamanders explained to the rivals, the Marines Malevolent, that they felt the strictures of Nikaea were outdated and psychic powers should be cultivated more assiduously, while the Marines Malevolent in many other chapters retained a healthy distrust of the psykers and all those who dealt with the immaterium. All right. So now let's get to the biblical side of things. So we're in Acts chapter 15. Hold on. So we're going to start with verse 13 here. Yeah. And thereafter he held their peace. Verse 12. And then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring that miracles and wonders God had wrought among the Gentiles by them. And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simon hath declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles, to take out of them a people for his name. Isaiah 63. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and the kings to the brightness of thy rising. So, here we have the Gentiles coming in with Jacob, right? Or Israel. Okay. Now, let's get back here. Seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom may have called, or name is called, saith the Lord, who doeth all these things. Right here, I'm sorry. So Simon had declared how God first did visit the Gentiles to take them out for a people for his name. And to this agree the words of the prophets, as it is written, After this I will return, and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord. Ready? And all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, saith the Lord, who doeth all these things. Known unto God are all his works. So that Isaiah 1, right? Isaiah 63, that's the Old Testament, right? And we have, and this right here, I'll bring this up. There is no second-class citizen in Israel. Let me show you. Even the indentured servants, right? Right here. Exodus 12:49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Okay. And there's many, many. Here, I'll bring up another one. Right here, Numbers. It's not what I wanted, but anyways, KJV. Ye shall have one law for him that sinneth through ignorance, both for him that is born among the children of Israel, and for the stranger that sojourneth among you. So there is no second-class citizen in Israel. Anyways, I know that's refuted in a lot of things, and there's some racists out there, but one law for both the Jew and the Gentile. Okay, and it's always been that way, by the way. So, let me go back here. I'm sorry, I keep getting off track. Okay, and called, saith the Lord, who doeth all these things. Known unto God are all his works from the beginning of the world. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which go from among the Gentiles are turned to God. What he's saying is that, so what happened with Israel is they had what is called the oral Torah, right? This is your Mishnah, all that stuff, right? They were adding to the word of God. And what does it say? Don't add or subtract, right? But they were adding to the word of God, and they were making it difficult, right? Got to clap your hands 5 times, spin around, and then wash your hands 7 times before you can go inside, stuff like that, right? Or on the Sabbath day, you just got to sit there, you can't do anything, all that stuff, which the Sabbath is just a glorified God prescribed day off of work. That's all it is. It's simple, right? But anyways, I digress. So, wherefore my sentence is that we not trouble them which are Gentiles who turn to God, but that we write unto them that they abstain from the pollution of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. So, fornication is adultery, right? This is all the 10 Commandments, right? That's what it is. He's talking about the 10 Commandments there. Follow the 10 Commandments. For Moses of old time hath in every city that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Then pleased it the apostles and the elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabas, and Silas, chief men among the brethren. Yeah. And right here, okay, verse 24, actually 23. And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and the elders and brethren send greeting unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles in Antioch, in Syria, in Cilicia. For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have troubled you with words, subverting your souls, saying, Ye must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. He's talking about you have to keep the law of this circumcision. You gotta be circumcised, right? To pray to God and all this, to be a Christian and whatnot, is what they're saying, which isn't true. Right here, actually. Right here. This is an awesome verse right here. So, verse 25, Romans 2, 25 through 29. For circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? And shall not uncircumcision which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision dost transgress the law? So he's saying here that what if a guy who isn't circumcised but is keeping the law righteously, right? So it doesn't matter, right? If your guy is circumcised, what matters is this circumcised, right? Is what matters. Okay. Verse 28, for he is not a Jew, which is in one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. Amen to that. Okay. So it was going through, do the Gentiles have to follow the whole law and blah, 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 right? What you'll see here, so we have here in Colossians, right? We have Paul saying this, and it sounds like he's saying he's doing away with the law, right? But it's actually the Levitical system it's talking about here. So Colossians 2:14, blotting out the handwriting of order, because we have to remember Jesus is the Lamb, right? He's the Lamb of God. So we no longer need that Levitical system. So Colossians 2:14, blotting out the handwriting of the ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. But here's an issue. Is Paul contradicting himself here, or is there something more going on? 1 Corinthians 11:2. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. So ordinances can mean religious ceremony. So what he's talking about here is the Levitical system. That was done away with. But these ordinances, keep the ordinances, are the 10 Commandments, right? Because we have Jesus saying this. Right here. Very easy. Simple. If you love me, keep my commandments. Basically, the whole of it is love God and treat others the way you want to be treated, right? We're going to see here. Not that one. Where is it? Oh boy. Okay. Right here. Verse 11 and 12. Oh, I'm sorry. Matthew chapter 7, verse 11 and 12. If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him? I'll read this first though. Okay. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye do that would do to men, or would that men should do to you, All right, let me read that again. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. Treat others the way you want to be treated, right? For this is the law and the prophets. It's as simple as that. Now, what are those, right? Ye shall not have other gods before me. Ye shall not make idols. There's this right here, right? Where it says, let me see. But ye write on you that ye abstain from pollutions of idols, from fornication. Okay, what's fornication? Let's go here. You shall not commit adultery. Okay? And ye shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. And what this means is that don't say God told me when God did not tell you, right? This is what that means. It doesn't, even though you probably shouldn't say it, but it does not mean taking, saying gosh darn it, right? It means don't lie about God. Don't use God's name to lie, right? Is what that means. Okay. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not delete, or I guess the wanting to delete, I guess is a better way of putting it. There's a difference between defending yourself and that word. Okay. And ye shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Ye shall not covet. What is all this? Treat others the way you want it. Well, love God, right? The first two here, or verse 3, I'm sorry, 3 of them, verse 3. And then it's keep the Sabbath day, which is a God-prescribed day off of work. That's all it is. It's that simple. You take a day off from your job, right? Work 6 days, and then that 7th day, all of them, your servants, everybody takes a day off. Now, Jesus says, if a donkey falls in the hole, aren't you going to go pick the donkey up out of your hole, right? Or out of that hole? Because what they were doing is they were making it hard, right? You got to sit there and can't do anything on the Sabbath day, right? It's not what God said. He said, take a day off, rest, right? That's all it is. So, anyways, that's what they were going on with this council that they had here. Should the Gentiles follow the law and all that? They should follow the commandments which Jesus gave to Moses, right? You'll see there, in Exodus that the angel of the Lord came out of that fire, right? But he's explaining himself as God. So in my opinion, like it says here, I know where I put it. Uh-oh. Where'd it go? Oh, right here. Okay. John 14:50. Like, if you love me, keep my commandments. So this is Jesus, right? Talking to John here. Oh, and real quick. So if you shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. But there's where is it? Right. There's a stipulation to this. People always wonder, why aren't my prayers getting answered and all this? Well, right here. 1 John 5:14. And this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he heareth us. So asking for a nice new car may not be part of his will. But anyways, I'll stop it there. I hope you guys learned something, got a little bit more deeper into the Bible here, because I know this stuff isn't taught. We're taught that it's all done away with, but it's like, so we shouldn't treat others the way we want to be treated, right? So is it okay to commit adultery? Right? So, anyways, thank you guys for all the people who support my videos. Thank you for all the ones who like it and dislike it. If you disliked it, thank you for at least giving me a chance. So, and I don't mean that tongue in cheek either. So, you guys have a wonderful day.